Hello everyone, Josh MC2000 here, and I'm back again for another episode of Comic Book Carnage. It has been a while, hasn't it? Yeah, it's been a hot minute. And, well, Shadow War it's been going on this month. I am late to this, but hey-ho. That's about it with me normally, isn't it? I'm normally always pretty late, you know, fashionably late. Well, when it comes to YouTube videos anyway. So, what I'm going to be doing for this video is we're just going to be talking about the road to Shadow War. So essentially we're going to be talking about what's happening in each of these books before they go into Shadow War. The next video I do will be talking about Shadow War, and when I say the next video I do will be talking about Shadow War, I bloody well mean it. I think I'm going to pick up the last of it today. And then after that, I'm going to read it all as one and then do a nice video on Shadow War. First of all, you're probably thinking, like, what the hell is Shadow War? Okay, now, Shadow War is a crossover event with all of the Joshua Williams books. So you've got Deathstroke Inc, you've got Robin, and you've got the current Batman run. So it's basically the three books that this guy is writing at the moment. So he's essentially doing this crossover event where, as far as we know, Deathstroke does something to piss off both the League of Assassins, Damian Wayne, and Batman. It's essentially a three-way fight between the League of Assassins, Batman, and Deathstroke. Damian's also thrown in there somewhere, and I'm pretty sure based upon what I've read at the moment, Rose is also going to be in there as well. Not too sure if anyone else will show up, but we shall find out. First of all, I suppose I better start by talking about a bit about Deathstroke Inc, because I've not talked about it on the channel, and partly it's because I never really felt the need to be honest. It's a good book, it's a good run. So far it's pretty much been a Adventure of the Week kind of gig, where it's like, okay, yeah, we have this overarching story to do with trust and the mystery behind, are they actually the good guys or not? Spoiler alert, they fucking aren't. But essentially the idea was each week Deathstroke was sent on a mission with Black Canary under the guise of them working for Trust, because Trust is this government funded kind of superhero thing. I think kind of like, I get kind of like Men in Black, Secret Society kind of vibes from it, and lo and behold, I think it's either issue 5 or issue 6, yeah, issue 5 probably, we get the reveal that, oh, Trust was actually bad all along, and it's essentially this group of supervillains that have been using Deathstroke and Black Canary to capture competition or recruit members. Bear in mind, I haven't read issue 5 since I started doing uni work, so that's probably incredibly half-remembered gobbledygook. Besides, I'm going to be honest, I've been off it for quite a while. I've not read any of the current runs that I've been reading for a very long time. I've got a part of about 55 comics to get through here because of, like, uni work and everything. So, yeah, oh god, that's going to be fun. Some of it, like, I think Detective Comics in that, I'm probably just going to... I picked up Detective Comics by mistake because I mistook it for Shadow War because it had Shadow of the Bat on it. Yeah, don't ask. I can be incredibly stupid sometimes. Deathstroke Inc, right? We get issue 6 is just basically Black Canary bugging out because she's realizing, okay, yeah, I don't want to get involved with this. I don't want to help Deathstroke with this. This is going to end badly. And Barbara Gordon pulls the attention of several other members onto what Deathstroke's doing. We also see at the end of issue 6 that Rose and Respawn, Ravager and Respawn, however you want to say it, were watching events from a distance, and they're essentially now going to go and introduce themselves, because Rose has brought Respawn here to introduce him to Deathstroke. Because essentially Respawn has told her something that the audience doesn't know at this point, and we get to find that out in issue 7, which is entitled Family Reunion. Which, yeah, I'm pretty sure that title's been used before for a Deathstroke and Rose story. I'm pretty sure. I think it was one of the Teen Titan ones, actually. Yeah, I think it was one of the OG Teen Titans runs that they used that title before. It works. I'm not gonna knock it. So essentially, in issue 7, we find out who Respawn is, and you're probably thinking, who the hell's Respawn? Well, the thing is, Respawn is a character from the Robin run. He was a part of the Lazarus tournament story arc, which, go away and read, by the way. The ending to that was really good. I like that. I'm not going to talk too much about Robin because I've talked about the first 3 issues. I will talk a little bit more about Robin in a bit, but we're currently on Respawn, so we'll get to Robin in a moment. Wait your turn, Damien. Now, okay, so Respawn. Respawn is revealed to be a kind of bizarro science experiment. He started out as a Damien clone. Then Raz actually... Several of these experiments failed, right? That he was doing. And he kind of realized, well, you know what? I need a healing factor. I need to give them a healing factor. Who could I possibly nick DNA off of to do that? Yeah, so essentially, Respawn is a bizarro of Talia, Damien, and Deathstroke's DNA. Some crazy cocktail of DNAs. And the guy under the mask actually does kind of look... I mean, Slade mistakes him as Damien at first, and he actually gets really angry because he's like, how dare you come here in my son's armor? You think just painting it red will put me off, you little brat? You're getting a whooping. And there's kind of like this moment where Rose has got to like hold him back and be like, whoa, wait, that's not Damien, let him explain. Whoa, ease up. Essentially, Respawn takes the mask off and you see that it looks kind of like Damien, but it's got like Slade's hair and very distinctly like... The way Grant has been drawn since the reboot, he looks very much like he has Grant's eyes. If you remember the way Grant was drawn in Christopher Priest's run. Now, I know that's quite some time ago because that was like very early issues of Priest's run, so like, I can forgive you if you have kind of forgotten how that looks. It looks like a sibling of Rose's and Slade's, right? There's a slight resemblance to Damien, but for the most part, he looks like a Wilson. Very distinctly so. And Slade kind of instantly is like, okay, right, yeah, you can come here, son. You know, like, Rose, you could go get Adeline. You know, we can, you know, like, we can do something here. Like, he essentially just straight up replaces Grant, and he starts like when Rose is actually challenging him about this, saying, "Oh, this is a bit weird." He does start rambling on about Grant. It's tripped something off in Slade's head to do with Grant. Yeah, I think I can kind of see why they drew him the way they did now. There's literally a panel where they compare Respawn and Grant side by side, so I think that's basically supposed to be implying that Slade is kind of like... He's looking at this kid and he's just seeing Grant. He's very much just kind of like... he's trying to fill that hole that was in his family, basically. So essentially, like, you know, Slade's basically trying to still trying to do this endeavor. He's leading up to something. He's prepping for war, because when they're actually infiltrating the facility, Respawn kind of points out, hey, this is a lot of heavy gear. Are you sure you want to be here when this shit hits the fan? Rose is a bit like, hey, look, you know, we just need to talk to him. It's in and out. Don't worry about it. But it's quite funny. The ending to this book is actually quite funny. Issue 7. Rose very clearly makes it quite clear that she's not siding with them and that Slade is talking like a goddamn lunatic. Pretty in character, to be honest, pretty fair. And then she draws a sword on Slade and says, hey, don't make me do this, please. You don't need your precognition to know what's going to happen if we throw down. Absolutely 180. Respawn friggin' uses his hook swords and lobs her out of the window. Like, literally just full on yeets her. Like, yeeting simulator does not even describe this. And then Respawn's like, okay, I've done that, now what? And Deathstroke's like, I'm going to need to trade you real quick because she's going to make her way back up here, and when she does, she's going to be pissed. And, oh, she's probably going to kill you. And then Respawn's like, okay, how do you know that? He's like, it's exactly what I would do. Which is very much the case. I know as much as Rose hates to admit it, she is very much Slade's kid. You kind of see why I'm covering this before we cover Shadow War, because this is moving the players into place for Shadow War. The Batman side of this, Batman's also involved in it. I'm going to do Batman first because it's not a lot to clear up. It's very much just he's dealt with a case that he's currently on, and we get a stinger at the end with Deathstroke basically saying that he's ready to do what he's going to do. So yeah, okay, that's the Batman one isn't particularly much use at the moment, because we're not getting much in the way of information out of it in terms of where the people are and what they're doing before they go into this. The next one to talk about is issue 12 for Robin, which is Demon Within. Honestly, I really like this issue. Joshua Williams writing Robin. That's probably the first time I've actually come to like Damian. Because normally I hate Damian. I normally despise Damian. He annoys the shit out of me. But I really enjoy his run, and it's part of why I don't want to talk too much about the Lazarus Tournament, because I want you to go and read it. It's a really good book. Pick it up and trade. Do yourself a favor. It's there. Read it. So, essentially, after the Lazarus Tournament, Damian has a vial of Lazarus water, and he returns to Gotham with one intention: revive Pennyworth. Well, you might ask, how does he get from Lazarus Island to Gotham? I'll answer this for you. He nicks his mother's private jet. He literally nicks Talia's private ship. And his reason for doing it is simply just to annoy her. Damian's sole reason for doing it is just to get on Talia's nerves. I love that, because that's so in character for Damian. Like, it's one of those where he will actively choose the option to irritate people if he can. But it's done in such a comedic way where it doesn't come off as... He makes that comment not so much to be an asshole, but he makes that comment as to make light of it, to make a joke out of it. Hawk says to him, how are you actually going to get to Gotham from here? He says to Hawk, I know exactly how I'm going to get to Gotham, and I know it's going to piss Talia off. And so it's very much like it's kind of done as a bit of a punchline there. And essentially, so he gets to Gotham, he's got the Lazarus vial in hand, he makes his way to Pennyworth's grave, he stood over the grave. He starts having, like, because the previous issue before, like, Damian had like a bit of a bad trip kind of thing going on with magic to do with, like, the, not Ra's al Ghul, his not Ra's al Ghul, but Ra's al Ghul's mother, like this new character that they created for the Lazarus Tournament, Marsol, something like that, I think. I was about to say her name was kind of blank in there for a moment. She basically does some magic stuff to Damian, and Damian starts having these hallucinations. Essentially, this thing is kind of the residue, the last throes of this hallucinogen, basically, that he's got going on in his head with his sorcery. He's basically like, he's confronted by himself, or a vision of himself. The vision of himself is basically putting him down, is spewing out all his worst fears. To be honest, I was half expecting Scarecrow to pop up and for them to say he'd been gassed and for him to have a fight with Scarecrow, because it's very much, it seemed very Scarecrow-y. Kind of the way that it was Damian talking to himself but also putting him down. It's very much along the lines of, everybody hates you, everybody thinks you're a brat, you're not even a normal person. Like, it took Ravenger of all people to teach you to be normal. There's this really cutting line that it says about Pennyworth where it's like, oh, go on, bring Pennyworth back, like, I'm sure he'll thank you for it. Very much implying that, like, you know, well, not quite like that. I'm not using a direct quote from the comic because, I want you to read it because it's a good book. So forgive me if I'm kind of paraphrasing. Damian comes to the realization that if he uses the water of the Lazarus pit that he has in his hand to revive Alfred, he's gonna do the same thing to Alfred that was done to Raz, that was done to Talia, that was done to Jason. And what's the notable thing that was done with all of those characters? Yeah, being revived in the Lazarus pit doesn't exactly help your psychiatric integrity, does it? So Damian kind of realizes, yeah, it's probably kind of to let Alfred rest. I want Alfred back. I'm really annoyed that he's dead. God damn it, Tom King. Who the hell let you write Batman? But at the same time, I can agree with Damian that we don't necessarily want to do it by Lazarus Pit. Because look at everybody who's been brought back by the Lazarus Pit. They've all been a little loopy. And I'd prefer it if we left evil Alfred in the Silver Age, because that was an incredibly stupid idea. Yeah, for those of you that don't understand what I'm talking about there, about leaving evil Alfred in the Silver Age, there was actually a period where Alfred was actually a villain in the Silver Age. I can't remember the name of the villain, but it was something really stupid. And there's kind of like, because people always poke fun at the fact that Batman's supposed to be the world's greatest detective, but he couldn't figure out his own butler was a supervillain. Oh, what was it called now? That's going to annoy me. I need to look that up afterwards. To be honest, if I could ever buy an issue of like old school Batman, like, you know, I'm not talking like early 2000s or 90s stuff like I have a lot of. I'm talking like, you know, like old Batman. If I could ever get a single issue from that run, I'd want it to be that one, simply because it's really funny. And it's also done in a similar manner as well, Alfred being resurrected. So it does make me wonder if they're going to resurrect Alfred at some point and bring that concept back. I hope to God not, because it's incredibly stupid. And also, we've already had evil Jim Gordon over the course of Rebirth, so I don't think we need any more Batman allies turning to the dark side. I think we're good now. That was the whole Year of the Villain thing. I didn't read that. That was, I didn't care for that. That was like, you had a bunch of heroes turned into like kind of evil zombie looking things. All I know of that was the posters and the couple of issues I read for like Deathstroke and Red Hood, right? Those were the only things I really knew about for Year of the Villain. Because I'm going to be honest, it didn't really affect any of the titles I was reading, so it was one of those where it's like, oh, okay, that was a non-event for me. It just meant we got some really fucking stupid stories for Red Hood, but... Oh god, I've ended up rambling, ain't I? We were talking about Robin. Back on track. Anyway, so essentially, he smashes the Lazarus Pit thing, and he kind of decides, yeah, I'm not going to revive Pennyworth, because that would be cruel, it would be wrong, it would mess up Alfred, and I'm not doing that to Alfred. And there's actually also this really heartfelt moment in the book where Damian is talking to Alfred's grave, and he's like, you know, you were the first person to show me kindness, you always respected me, and I'm sorry I failed you, I'm sorry I let you down. Like, that was like a really sad moment. That was really good. This is the thing I'm saying about Joshua Williams' Robin run. Damian in this run feels like such a more well-rounded character than like the previous versions of Damian that I've read. Damian, like the Teen Titan books that I read that had Damian in, because I was reading it with the Red Hood crossover, Damian seemed very angry, snack pack, yeah, very sarcastic, snarky, you know, little punk, you know, kind of like, think of like the stereotypical Damian, right, that most people that don't like Damian think of. He seemed very much like that, and I'm like, oh god, yeah, I still don't care for this character. And then this run comes out, and I primarily start reading it to see what Rose is doing. And now even after she's effed off back to the Deathstroke run, I'm still reading it because I really like the way he's writing Damian. Like, it's actually a nice change. Damian is a lot more likable in this book. I mean, he still has his moments of being a bit of a, like, you know, he doesn't stop speaking the way he does, so like he does refer to Talia the way he does, he refers to Bruce the way he does, you know, like he still talks the same way, and he still acts the same way in some situations, but he just seems a bit more well-rounded in terms of everything else. When he's in combat, he's still behaving normally, he's behaving kind of like the Damian that I'm not a massive fan of. But when he's not doing that and he's kind of like in his downtime, he's a lot more tolerable now. I actually really like the little thing they had going with him and Flatline. I hope they bring her back in the comic. I hope she's a returning character. Hawk as well. I'd like to see Hawk return again. Honestly, like pretty much the majority of the characters that survived the Lazarus arc, I'd want to see again. We're getting a lot of Respawn. Respawn is probably going to be a big part of the Deathstroke book for a good bit now. I could be wrong, it could be another Punchline situation where he's in it for one event and then everybody fucking forgets about him. I'm gonna be honest, like I did not read that Punchline book because honestly, Punchline did not wow me, she did not impress me. They gave her all this push like she was gonna be really good, like the majority of the variant covers for that book were all Punchline. and they're making a massive fuss about how good she was going to be. And then I read it, and it's like, okay, you've just got more serious, more aggressive Harley Quinn. Yeah, so essentially Punchline was just a non-entity for me. Like they did all, like I said, they were doing all this big push, and then like she just kind of came out, and it's like, I really don't care. And to be honest, I get the feeling that they're going to do this whole thing with Respawn for the event, and he's going to be meant to be like a big part of Deathstroke now. I guarantee you that by the time we reboot again and we go over to the next run, I doubt Respawn will be sticking around. I'm gonna be honest, I don't think Respawn has got the legs of people like Grant, Joey, and Rose. Like, you know, people that have been a part of Deathstroke's run for like since the 90s, you know, like since the beginning. Like, I don't see, yeah, I don't see Respawn having the staying power of like the OG Wilson side characters. Speaking of which, Slade made a reference to Wintergreen in this. Where the hell's Wintergreen in the middle of this? Like, I'm not being funny, but if I was Rose, I would have gone to Wintergreen first instead of taking Respawn straight to Slade. Because, like, here's the thing, right? What if, like, Rose is the product of an affair, right? So she should surely be aware that, like, hang on a minute, what if this whole thing about him being a clone is a load of baloney and he's literally just Talia and Slade's kid? What kind of worms am I about to open if I take Respawn over to Slade? I don't know, I think surely she should have took him to Wintergreen and been a bit like, Wintergreen, what the fuck am I dealing with here? Like, do you know anything? Like, or is he telling the truth? Because this is some sci-fi baloney. Yeah, I must admit that I know the Al Goulds have kind of, they've had history with cloning because of the stuff Talia did with Damien, but I like the League of Assassins, but I don't care for some of the more sci-fi bullshit going on with the League in recent years with like all the cloning people and like the, I mean, you know, I don't know. I'm not a massive fan of some of that side of the League of Assassins, but anyway. I've been rambling on for well over, nearly about 30 minutes now, Jesus Christ. Bearing in mind, I have also got to cut this down in the edit. There's several bits that I have recorded. I think I recorded that little brief bit where I talked about Punchline. I tried to go more in depth with that, and I ended up re-recording it like 3 times. Yeah, anyway guys, I'd highly recommend all of these books to you. That'll do it for this video, and I'm really looking forward to covering Shadow War. I hope you guys have enjoyed the video, and I apologise it's gone on a bit longer than some of the others.